Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Verena and I'm very happy that you're back here. Today I have a story for you, a story of my life, how me taking part in a yoga retreat changed my complete life and actually brought me to Bali, where I've been living for the past 7 years. Yeah, it's an incredible story, and I love to tell stories, and this is obviously one of my favorites. And let's imagine back 10 years ago, 2014. So actually, by the end of 2013, I broke up with my long-term boyfriend because I met a soulmate. If you don't know what a soulmate is, somebody who really you feel something which you've never felt before, and it's a depth of or it opens you up to a depth of a relationship which you have never experienced before. So all of this happened while I was around 29, perfectly aligned with my Saturn return. And that's when I broke up with my boyfriend and entered this new relationship, which sort of turned my life really upside down. And it opened me up to many, many new things. Um, Especially in regards to spirituality. That's when I started to look into energy work. That's when I started to do my first Reiki course. I met my first teacher. Um, I have been always, even at that time, I started like going to a tarot reader years before that. That started 2007. So I was already a little bit open to that, but anyway, nothing compared to what happened at that time. And I don't want to go too deeply into that, but the relationship didn't last. But what it brought me was, interestingly enough, we went to Bali together in 2014. And I remember when I arrived here, I was like, oh, it's not for me. It's not Thailand, because I had been a big, big fan, a big Thailand girl. And I was like, it's not for me. It's interesting, but yeah, I was really like so and so. We were here for 10 days down in Sanur, and we flew back, and soon after our relationship broke. And I have to think about, because there's so many details I don't want you to miss out. Okay, so our relationship broke, and I basically stayed in the workplace where I was working at, but it was not about the relationship. I had been not happy with what I was doing for many, many years. But when it was time to choose what to do, I was around 16 years old. So I was like, okay, I go to the office and I do work as an office clerk, as a HRBP. Like later on, I studied and stuff like that. And I was also part of my time working in office, I was working as a diplomat, so I was abroad. But still, the task itself didn't fulfill my heart. And when that relationship broke, I was just transferred to another company, or company which was related to the one I had worked before. I was like, what am I actually doing here? I had moved to Munich. I had my circle of friends was in another city, and I was like, what am I actually doing here? So I really started to doubt um, my life. Let's say like this. I doubted my life. I was like, what is my life about? My relationship broke. I just started a new job, which I don't like at all. It was really, really boring. I just didn't see a purpose in it anymore. And I had a big, big, massive life crisis, to be honest. Like that the that this relationship had not survived, cracked me open, and I was facing a lot of childhood stuff coming up, childhood patterns, childhood trauma. So I was like open bleeding. I was like, what am I doing? So my friend and me had planned, like earlier this year, a couple of months earlier, we had planned to fly to New York for New Year's, and we were at the airport in Munich. And I said to her, when I come back, I'll quit my job and I will walk the Camino, which was on my heart since some time already. And she was like, you really want to do this? And I was like, I promise here now, I'm going to do this. So we flew out to New York, and which was a great trip, but that's another story. And because I already had opened myself up for something really new in my life. And when I came back home, I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. So I went to the office and I handed in my notice on the 11th of January in 2015. And it felt so good, guys. I cannot even, yeah. It was amazing. I felt liberated, I felt free, but at the same time, it was really, really scary. And so I went home. I had booked, I don't know if I had already, but I booked a flight to Portugal because for me, I was sure I'm going to walk the Camino from Portugal. So there's a Portuguese Camino, and I was sure I want to do this one. So I bought all the stuff I needed. And on the 11th of February, it's all about 11 because my life pass number is 11. I flew out to Porto actually. And I arrived deep down in the night. It was raining. It was cold. Cleo, that's my cat in the background. So she wants to go out, but she just came back in. So, and she's a little bit, I don't know, you will see maybe if she's coming closer, she is losing some fur at the moment. Um, anyway, so I arrived there in the middle of the night. It was cold, it was raining. I was like, oh my God, what have I done? So I checked in into a hostel. And at the same night, two other girls, and that's my dog Lily, two other girls, both of them are rescues, by the way. Two girls checked in, and with one of the girls, Lauren, I had a really, really interesting conversation the next day. So her sister was doing yoga, was leading or facilitating retreats. And so Lauren asked me why I was in Portugal. So I told her about me walking the Camino to Santiago de Compostela, which is sort of a pilgrimage place in Spain. And so I told her all about that, and she was like, wow, that sounds really, really impressive. So have you ever thought what you want to do after? Because I was there with a one-way ticket. So I didn't know, I hadn't planned anything for when the Camino is finished, you know. So I'm back. So she had asked me what I would what I would what I want to do, and I was like, I have no plan. I just want to see Lisbon. I was sure I want to go down to Lisbon and have a look at the city. And she was like, why don't you go on a yoga retreat? And I had never ever heard the term yoga. Like I had heard the term yoga, but retreat, I had no clue. So I said to her, what is a retreat? So she explained me basically that it is a time where you go, like it's sort of a holiday, and you have yoga once or twice a day, you have meditation, yoga nidra, and stuff like that. And you have basically a couple of days where you're more mindful. And I was like, that sounds amazing. So I had already done yoga before. My first time doing yoga was when I was 9 years old, which was actually quite profound. Yoga and meditation, because I was in a kids camp for 4 weeks. And we had a yoga teacher there, and she did amazing meditations with us and stuff like that. So I had done it obviously when I was 9, and then later on when I was living in Scotland during my time being a diplomat, I went to regularly to yoga classes, and then also when I was back in Germany. But I didn't consider myself as a yogi or something like that. Still don't do, like I'm somebody who is doing yoga. But yeah, she told me about it, and I was like, it sounds actually really, really nice. And I can imagine that after walking for 300 kilometers, I could need a yoga retreat. So anyway, I finished the Camino, which is also another story for another day, but profoundly impacting. I booked a bus down to Lisbon, spent 5 days in Lisbon, and then booked myself a yoga retreat, which was close to Sintra, right at the Atlantic coast. And I remember I went with the train from Lisbon, and I got picked up by somebody and brought there, and it was run by a German guy. And we were there in February. I don't know if I mentioned that. So it was quite cold, and it was very, very interesting because the place was actually like the rooms were refurbished or renovated horse boxes, which I thought it's quite charming. They did a really, really good job, but the windows were quite small as horses lived there before. And as I said, it was quite cloudy during the time I was there, so mostly I needed light because the room was quite dark. And anyway, so we had yoga every day. We were a really small and intimate group. I cannot recall how many people we were, but we weren't a lot. And it was intimate, it was beautiful, and we had such an amazing teacher, which I think I really like. I just got so inspired by her because she was so embodied in who she was and what she was doing. She was like the embodiment of a yoga teacher for me at that time. She was sort of floating into the shala. She was how she talked, how she explained, how she was really, really present with us was just really, really inspiring to me. And at that moment in time, I had just quit a job which was with me. I mean, at that point, I was nearly 30 and I started work when I was 17. So I had been in the office for a long, long time, except when I was studying in between. So I had no clue what was next. I was sort of like, it was an inspiring and scary time at the same, because there were 100,000 roads which had opened up to me. And at the same time, I was like overwhelmed by what to choose to do next. And so I remember this one day we had just finished a yoga class and I went to my room and I was sort of falling onto my bed, looking up to the ceiling. And I was like, what if, because really she inspired me so much. I was like, what if I become a yoga teacher? And now here we go. And I'm not kidding you. This really, really happened. In that moment, it was like God pushing away the clouds. And the sun came out and the whole room was flooded by sunlight. And I was like, oh, it was like, this was like a sign. And I was like, oh my God, like, I feel this is a sign. So what I did was I went to the main area where we had Wi-Fi. I took my phone, I sat down and I Googled yoga teacher training. I didn't put any city or country or anything inside. I was just like yoga teacher training. I didn't even put 200 hours because I didn't even know that a yoga teacher training would be 200 hours. I was so like in Germany we say a novice, I think. So the first thing which came up was yoga teacher training in Mondsee, Austria. And I was like, oh, Mondsee, like I love the mountains. I love rivers. I like lakes. I love mountains. Lily is wanting to play the harmonium. And I love Austria, therefore. And the next thing which hooked me immediately was with a teacher from Australia. And when I, like 10 years prior to that, actually, 10 years prior to that, when I was 19, I booked a one-way ticket, another one-way ticket, and I flew off to Australia without a plan. Like maybe this is repeating itself every 10 years, and now I'm 39, so it might repeat itself again. This is actually interesting. So Australia had a very, very special place in my mind and in my heart. And I had always dreamt to go back. But at that point, like this is now, nearly 10 years ago, like working remote and stuff like that, had just been in the baby shoes, maybe even embryo. So I had no clue how to do it. And when I read that there was a teacher from Australia, I was like, this is it. I'm doing that. I had no clue about the yoga style. I had no clue who Nikki Knopf was. I just reached out to Gabi, who was hosting the retreat in her studio or in a place which she rented for us. And I said, I want to come to the retreat. And she's like, brilliant, or to the yoga teacher training. And she said, brilliant, we still have space. She said, are you an experienced practitioner? And I was like, yeah, sure. I mean, I made it up. I wasn't, but I knew for some reason, all of me was like, you need to go there. I was really scared because I knew if somebody is doing a teacher training, then most probably training since years. But I was like, if you have that feeling, you need to go somewhere, you need to do this, or this is how I live my life at least. And it has always brought me to something amazing. So I was saying to this lady, oh no, it's brilliant. And I said, and she's like, do you know Nikki's style? And I'm like, no. And she's like, okay, I'm going to send you some stuff through. Just practice that and you'll be fine. At that moment, I didn't have a clue that Nikki was already over 80. She had practiced with Iyengar, and her style was a mix between Ashtanga and Iyengar. So I was like, I had my, I don't know, blue-eyed in Germany, we say. I was naive. And so anyway, 2 months later, I sat in Austria, ready to take part in a 200-hour yoga teacher training. And Yeah. I mean, looking back, it was just the most incredible time, and it makes me a little bit emotional. Sorry, but like realizing how courageous I was to do that, and how much transformation it brought to me to meet these people, to meet Nikki, and to do something which, I mean, brought me so massively out of my comfort zone. I cannot even tell you. I mean, until that point, I was so in discomfort with my own body. I had so much body shame. I'm still working on that. Like it's not gone completely, but if you if you'd known me 10 years ago, and for me doing that was so brave. And I mean, I don't know how many times I've cried in that training, sitting in the back, like, hmm. But anyway, I mean, it's not about the yoga training right now, but and it is, but because it changed my life. I mean, I'm now a yoga teacher, and a mentor, a guide, and I guide women which are on the same journey I have been in the past. So, but around that, in that training, I met so many beautiful people. This training had attracted people from all across the globe because Nikki was an international teacher. And one girl, Amrita, she's from Sri Lanka. Me and her, we always sat next to each other, and we became really, really good friends during the training. We just bonded, and she always told me, Verena, you need to come to Sri Lanka, and I want to show you my country. You need to meet my parents. You need to get your palm leaf in Sri Lanka, and it would be just amazing. You need to come, and you need to come to my wedding. So anyway, after the training, Amrita left back to Sri Lanka. I left back to Munich, and with a full heart, but too scared at that point to teach yoga. I was still so much like in my body. If you know about that, the body keeps the score and trauma is held in the body. I was just still so tense, and I didn't have the courage to teach right away. Anyway, Amrita was still like, sitting on my shoulder. She's like, you need to travel again, Verena. You don't know. Like, she's like, what's your plan? If you don't have a plan, travel. And it took me another nearly 9 months until it hit me. And I was like, actually, this is it. I want to travel again. I want to see the world. And I want to go on another adventure. And actually, the plan was to sublet my incredible flat for 6 months. And in Munich, that's normally not a problem. But what happened was nobody rented it. And I was like, this cannot be true. It's a open gallery flat. I've made it so nicely. And normally it's gone like this, but nobody. And I was like, what's happening here? So one day, I went with the bus to my friend in Regensburg. And on the bus, I was like, I need to let it go. And I came back to Munich and decided that I will let go everything and just go and see where the wind carries me. Oh, that's so crazy. Oh, and I did. And I decided to let it go. I told my dentist about it. Her father, who is also dentist, was looking for a flat for his apprentice, and he took everything off me. He bought all of what I didn't need anymore, basically everything I had beside my books and my personal belongings. And I walked out with empty hands, and I was like, wow. I was like, wow, I'm free to go. And I cannot tell you how. Whew, I didn't plan that. I cannot tell you how this feeling was, but it was like I'm free, and now something really, really new is starting in my life. And so the first stop obviously was Sri Lanka to see Amrita. And I stayed with her. Like I already knew I was invited for her wedding. So I stayed with her for a couple of weeks. I met her great parents, amazing hospitality. I was blown away by the people in Sri Lanka. So if you've ever planned to go to Sri Lanka, please go. They're amazing people there. So much hospitality, such big and open hearts. And I actually planned to go to go back there because I fell in love with the country. But yeah, at some point I will go back. Anyway, like Amrita had invited me for her wedding, so I knew I'd stay for 1.5 months, and then I go to Bali, where Amrita's wedding took place, which I did. I went to Bali, and at that point, my best friend came from Germany because then she went to Australia for a year. So I went to Amrita's wedding. I had the most incredible 3 days Indian wedding or Indian inspired wedding. Um, I've never experienced something like that before. And can you imagine? I mean, this is how my life works. There was one other German person there, one in 480 people, and he came from the same village like me, the same village called Altdorf in Bavaria, and it was insane. And it like, yeah, the story in itself. So, but this is how my life works. When you open yourself up, when you're like, okay, universe, take me, I surrender, I'm here, guide me, then the most mind-blowing things happen. And this is also why this retreat, which I'm telling you in a moment, is so incredible. Anyway, so this is how I came to Bali. After the wedding, Amrita flew back to Sri Lanka. I said, I'm going to stay a little bit longer in Bali. We basically went to a small island, and I fell in love. I fell in love with a man. The relationship didn't last, but I lasted. I lasted in Bali. And what can I say? I mean, I live the life of my dreams now. I'm doing what I absolutely love doing. I could have never imagined that before. Never. If you would have told me what I want to be or what I want to do, I had no clue. I had no clue, but life unfolded in the most magical way for me as soon as I said, take me, I'm here, I trust. I trust that this heart, this intuition is guiding me, and I jump. You know, whenever I like that yoga teacher training I booked, I was shit scared. Really, I was so scared because I knew the yogis who were there, and they were advanced practitioners. They had trained in with Nikki's system for years, and I just came like a complete newbie, but I made it. And this is how I do my life and how I did it so many times. I trust, and then I throw myself into it. And I'm always sort of, life always gives so much back to me. And that's why I want to invite you. I mean, you know my story now and how I made manifest to live a life, my life of my dreams. I didn't even know that it is the life of my dreams because, oh, I need to show you that. I hope I have it here. No, I don't. It's outside. I once, when I lived in Australia, I will show you, maybe posted, I had posted it on my Instagram feed years ago. A guy, which I didn't speak a word in a pub, he sat next to me and he left and he pushed over a beer where the beer is on, and he drew a drawing, and I still have that thing with me outside in my wait, I'm gonna take it. Wait, you have to see it. Wait. How is this happening? I wanted to go outside and the purse was not right next to me. Can you imagine that? So where is it? Ah, here it is. A coaster. It's called Coaster. So this guy just, and I was 19. I was so young. I was so scared. I was the first time away from home. I hadn't booked any like agency or something. I just went there with a brave and open heart. And yeah, so this guy sat next to me and it was like smoky and dark in the pub. And at some point he left and he pushed this over to me, and I don't know if you can see it. I still have it. It's now 20 years old. And it says, sometimes on the way to your dreams, you get lost and find a better one. And guys, this is how life actually works. We have these big dreams. And I don't say that all the dreams are not about to work out. No. Don't get me wrong. But sometimes we have dreams which were put in our mind by someone else. Yeah. Maybe by our parents, by society. And we feel inside that there's actually something else. And maybe we do not give ourselves the permission to go there. I don't know, I'm super emotional today. But when we allow ourselves to go there, miracles happen and magic happens. And I experienced that so many times. Really. And I'm writing a book actually about my magical stories at the moment, because I'm not telling you any woo woo. It's really when you surrender, and surrender was like a word which I could never remember because it was so far away from what I was doing with my in my life or how I was living. But when we surrender and really say to the universe, okay, I let go of control, just take me and guide me where I need to be, magic is happening. It really is. And that's how I now make a full circle to the retreat I'm planning here in Bali in November. I'm hosting a retreat again from the 11th to the 17th of November, and it's called You Are the Magic. And it's about what I just told you. It's about remembering who you really are. It's about reigniting that spark, doing something for you, doing something for your soul, finding out actually what it is that sparks you, and ignite the first step. And maybe you're already on that journey, but like me, like we're so hardwired into some, how to say, into some limiting beliefs that sometimes we already discovered what we want, but we're too scared. So we start to drive and then we pull the handbrake again. So maybe you're at that point in your life, or you at that point where I was in the office, you know. But if you're open, if you have an open heart and an open mind, I'll guide you into a very deep and transformational journey, joyful on top of that, because this is what I believe. It has to be deep, but it can be joyful. And it's about remembering that really magic and miracles are not something from the movies. It's real, and it's real for all of us if and when we are ready to allow them to come in. That's when we open the door, open our heart. And this is what the retreat is about. It's held in Bali. It's limited to 8 women. Yeah, and it's going to be magical. There are so many parts of which I've included, which will just open your heart. It's I put all of my heart into this, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited for the women to come. For the 8 women, maybe you are one of them. Maybe you, who you're watching right now, maybe you feel it. Maybe you're a little bit like, oh, I don't know. Sometimes it can be a little bit like our heart or our soul already knows, but our mind is like we're scared because our subconscious mind wants to keep us safe. Like change is something really scary for our system, for our brain. It's unpredictable. We don't know where the road leads, but it's always rewarding. To be brave is really rewarding because it opens a whole new world. I don't know if you know that Aladdin song, but I really, really love it. And it is like that. It opens us to a whole new world and to things we could have never, ever imagined. And why a retreat is even more powerful, because people from all walks of life, from all across the globe, come together who are on a similar mission. And it's sort of like elevating the energy when people come together who are on a similar frequency or on the same vibe. Something magical happens, especially when it's women. And we will work so much about manifestation, abundance mindset. I'm trained by Bob Proctor, thinking into results. So it's all about manifestations, all about opening ourselves up to create magic together. And I'd be I'd be over the moon. My voice is like cracking. I'd be over. Maybe it's because I have to tell you. So we're going to chant a lot, because this is actually our center of, like, our sacral and our throat are the 2 centers of creation. And we will work with both of them, and especially because I'm doing a lot with vocal sound healing and also here harmonium, singing mantras and stuff like that. I'm all about frequencies. I'm all about like sound healing. So we will do a lot of sound, and that will give you your voice. The voice, you need to share your voice with the world. So maybe this is why I had the voice thing happening right now, because I want you to know we will free your voice. And if this is something now which really speaks to you, I invite you to come. I invite you to reach out. I will put my email in the content window. Just send me a message, write retreat in the betreff. How do you say that? In the sometimes my English, in the header, and send me a message, and I'm gonna come back to you, and we'll talk about it. I'll send you all the information, and then you're free to choose if you're on board, if you want to come, and if you want to change your life. So thanks for watching this. It was a pleasure to share my story. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you in November in Bali. Bye bye.